welcome to our next exciting Fireside chat. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you two incredibly amazing women, Dr. Tatiana Tarnowski and Krista Jory, who I've had the pleasure of meeting once before live at an event they did for Leaders on Purpose, and they're both from the Leaders on Purpose organization. And I could just say that everything they do, everything I've seen both online and in person has been phenomenal. And so I'm very excited about what they're going to discuss with you today in terms of their new initiative for Lungs of the Earth. And I'm sure we will all be inspired and have some amazing action items and takeaways from this. And so without further ado, ladies, I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris and Anand and the whole team here. We're excited to be here and really, really honored to be collaborating with you on this. Let's see. I'm Krista Jory. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Leaders on Purpose.
Yes, and I'm Tatiana Tanowski, as Chris said, the other co-founder and the Chief Strategy Officer. And we are excited with you to, in this session, to really discuss a little bit more what we're doing, where we came from, what the Lungs of the World initiative is, and also ways how you can engage with leaders in purpose in our growing network in the world. It's an exciting and pivotal time. And so we need all the purpose-driven leaders together.
We really do. We really do. So today we're here really just to tell you a little bit about our work, for those of you that don't know us, and also to share a couple of the new things that we're quite excited about. Maybe Tatiana, do you want to kick us off?
Well, maybe I was thinking, Chris, maybe given that you were so foundational in how Leaders in Purpose started, I feel
Oh,
to
sure.
understand where Leaders in Purpose stands today and why we are so privileged to work on some of these incredible initiatives, like as we've discussed in a couple of other panels before, working on Space for Earth or Lungs of the World, where it's all about nature evaluation, ecosystem services. And maybe just a little container around it all. Leaders on Purpose today is really a global leadership platform that prepares decision makers and leaders for what we call the future fit economy. That economy where the expectations and services and needs of our future are met, and of the consumers, but also of our society and the planet. We believe those leaders are really architecting the markets of tomorrow, and the markets are approaching us fast with all the innovation that is happening. But before we go there, where we are now and where we're going, maybe Chris, you could just share some light how we started, so our audience really understands where the momentum is coming from and why that is such an exciting journey that we're on.
Sure, sure. Yeah, happy to do that. And such a good idea to kind of bring a context and give some background on how we got started. So Leaders on Purpose got started back in 2015. We started really as a research project, and it was the year that the Harvard Business Review changed what it meant to be a top CEO. So every year, Harvard Business Review had ranked the CEOs on financial metrics. So the top 100s were ranked strictly on, you know, a series of financial metrics. And in 2015, they added a small weighting for environmental, social, and governance metrics, as it was at the time. And we saw this list radically shifted. So we saw Jeff Bezos, who'd been number one, fell to number 87. Warren Buffett fell completely off the list. And we saw these leaders that were transitioning their business, trying to do well and do good at the same time, recognizing that business as usual can't continue. But what they didn't tell us with the list, which was the most important thing, was how are they doing it? And as somebody, I was at Unilever at the time and had spent most of my career there working to transition our organization to become one that was very future fit, that, you know, that was addressing all of the larger stakeholders that were engaged in the business, you know, really understanding how these leaders were doing it so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, was vital. And so I'd had the opportunity and a platform. I was a professional of excellence. I can't say it today. A professional of excellence at Harvard and needed a project as part of that. And so that became my project. So invited a collaborator from Harvard to join in. I was at Unilever while I was there. A friend of mine was working at the World Bank, so she had called me to ask if I could give them some advice on some of their private sector engagement strategy, and invited them just to be part of it. And then a friend of ours that was here in London at London School of Economics came in as well, and so it became a Harvard, London School of Economics, World Bank, Unilever CEO study. And we all kind of just thought we would take the study and learn and be able to share it widely. And you know, uh, yeah, one thing led to another, and we're still here. And we're still here because this research is, and we're still doing the research. So we've launched 4 iterations of the study. We continue to look at how leaders are changing and addressing these big needs. And yeah, and that's how we got started. We've been convening leaders around these insights and also teaching what we're learning and developing new types of curriculum. So that's
Yeah.
roughly how we got started.
Yeah, and excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if we look back, right, sometimes we think about, wow, how fast time flies, but how important the role of the leader is. And of course, everyone knows that, and it's factually true, intuitively true. I mean, organizations pay the leadership function according to their performance, and the stock price performs also accordingly. So there's very, very clear facts, but there are also so many intangible value that gets created. And I think this is what's so interesting over all these years, to really understand how are these leaders shaping markets, businesses, services, products, partnerships, collaborations that capture more and more of this intangible value, which is now becoming of such more significant tangible value if we look at the nature economy, the ocean economy, right? New consumer needs, mental health, health in general, and of course within the AI-powered economy. And so this has been such an exciting journey. And I think what's interesting is that then over time, we have introduced in the Leaders on Purpose Institute, that would focus to continue this longitudinal research and to drive really forward these insights and develop trainings, right, Chris? And I think there's also an opportunity to engage in that and to be a partner in this and support that mission. And then on the other hand, we have our global platform that is really bringing together this network through our global multi-stakeholder convenings. And so we do this all over the world. We started as part of the private sector engagement strategy for the World Bank. Then UN leadership joined us in some of these meetings and asked us to be part of the UN General Assembly. So this is where maybe most of you know us from. And but meanwhile, we've been in the Middle East, we've been in Europe, and really like expanding globally. And there's more to come in 2026. But also, what I wanted to briefly touch upon, since this session is also talking a bit to dive deeper into some of the initiatives that we have. Yeah. We launched one initiative in 2020 around policy recommendations, how to build better economies, where we really galvanized intelligence from our CEO ecosystem and brought a letter in the Financial Times New Agenda to the world and addressed the policymakers to advance policy to build better, more regenerative economies. And 27 countries plus took up on some of these recommendations, which is really incredible. And out of this, Krista, the Lungs of the World, right, initiative sprouted. Maybe you can just share a little bit about this initiative and where it is and why this is, we believe, really profound and so exciting. Maybe you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yes, absolutely. So, one of the things that we realized as we've been convening leaders and doing our research is that, how organizations are interacting with nature, and that nature is, we have carbon credits, we have a variety of different ways for accounting for nature, but it's still insufficient, right? So, and it's still not working in a lot of different, in many different ways. So really looking at nature as an asset, right? So, and what does that mean? So, valuing nature on the balance sheet of a country. So when we look at the lungs of the world, we're calling it, it's actually, we'll change the name. That's our kind of working title. And now it's now it's out. But this is really looking at how do we support governments that are stewarding, and not only the governments, but supporting the people on the ground who are stewarding the most valuable resources to humanity, which are the lungs of the world, and the lungs and the biodiversity in regions like the DRC, like Brazil and Indonesia, where we have the largest rainforest and biodiversity rich regions. Yet when we look at the IMF Article 4 consultation, when we look at their IMF sort of balance sheet, none of that shows up, right? The only way that they can get credit for what that for one of those rainforests is to cut down a tree. So how do we find a way to value that so that they can have credit for keeping the trees alive, basically, and the stewards, the indigenous leadership, and those people that are stewarding that, those rich resources that are giving life to all of us, are also compensated. So that's what this work is, and it's a large coalition that we're bringing together. It's we've got the people from the IMF, we've got people from a number of different agencies involved, we have businesses involved, governments involved, really looking at how do we build off of really important work that's already been done to date to be able to do that. And what does that mean for you and I that maybe aren't living in any of those regions and aren't under, those governments? What that means to us is that when we safeguard those regions, you may think it would cost you more money than to do that, because at the end of the day, the Unilevers of the world might need to pay more for the products that come out of that. But actually, you'd be wrong about that, because right now we're paying for insurance premiums and all sorts of factors that are built into the supply chains, because we know what's happening with weather conditions, with broken down supply chains due to a number of things. By securing these regions, by stewarding them, we can have a much more reliable weather, supply chain. And so actually it won't cost you more. It will actually probably lower your costs, if not, maybe keep it the same for your cup of coffee or your various sort of, products that come and services that come out of those regions. And the other benefit, obviously, is the larger benefit to all of humanity for our oxygen and rain and all of the other kind of ecosystem services that are accounted for. So not sure if that's super clear, but we'd love to take some questions at the end. But that's that piece of work, and we're just kind of kicking that off. We've got a lot of momentum behind it. If that's something that you'd like to be involved with, please, don't hesitate to reach out. Tatiana,
Yes.
for you, now I'm going to ask you a question because you've asked me so many questions. So, what would you say you are most excited about over this next year? We have a number of different things coming, and you've been leading a lot of the work around a couple of our initiatives, which I'll let you talk about. But which one would you say you're most excited about, and why?
Thank you so much, Chris. And yeah, I know we've been reflecting on this year and looking really towards 2026. And I would say there are obviously a couple things. I mean, as we all know, this is not a surprise to us, to none here in the room. The AI economy is right upon us, right? We are right now in the driving seat of that. Leaders are in the driving seat of shaping what is coming next. And the next is approaching us pretty fast. And so this is definitely an exciting moment for many reasons. And for what this means for the Leaders on Purpose Network is that we really are coming together now based on the need from our global network to meet also between events that we're hosting physically, the high-level roundtables or the opportunities to engage in initiatives like Lungs of the World, which are a bit more institutional and broader, but on a peer-to-peer level, to learn from one another, to understand some certain leadership skills that actually create value in that economy and prepare businesses um, into a certain level of readiness to drive markets, services, and solutions that truly enable a thriving capability of businesses and people in the AI economy, meaning stewarding really where humanity is needed and stewarding also where efficiency is needed and where operations is needed to advance impact for business and beyond. And so this is what's happening in our leadership circles. And we're launching now already the second cohort, and I think we already have the cohort 3 ready. And within that, what is exciting to me personally is that for the last 2 years, we have more and more next gens and family officers joining us because, of course, the legacy of a business right now is something that is a very key question, and we have a lot of uncertainty around this in the world. But securing legacy, securing certain advances in capital in this age where we also have some of the largest wealth transfers happening is a very, very remarkable time, a remarkable shift, and really calls on leaders and also those that steward these opportunities. Because if you want it or not, you're a leader now. You're stewarding capital flows, and so if you want it or not, you're creating what's coming next. So it is an amazing opportunity, and something that's really, I think the momentum of that excites me, and you can see this momentum in our initiatives next year. We will, for instance, bring together for the first time a 6-day experience for the Leaders on Purpose Network in Europe together in the Mediterranean that really looks at the opportunities of Europe to the world, but also to engage global partners with European leadership that sees a similar shift and participates in building these next economies in a very action-driven way. And so I'm very, very excited to that. And there's also an open invitation to join us in these leadership circles, to sign up, join us as stakeholders also for these kind of convenings where we will be really driving this global agenda here. Gosh, and there's so much more, Chris. I mean, as you know, personally, I love the space. Our Space for Earth initiative, similar to the Lungs of the World. It's another initiative that is brewing. But I would say for now, like really very practically so, are really our leadership circles to join and meet the others. I think it's very exciting to know who else is out there and doing things where we can learn from.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things
Yes.
I love about the leadership circle is that it's a chance for people to meet, as you said, the others, but it's, often we'll go to events or we'll do things and it's sort of the same, it's in our same industry or with people with similar, who are focused on similar, one similar area. So whether it's tech or number of different things, marketing, whatever it is. This is very broad and it's also broad geographically. So we experimented with it. And I think, and you designed a lot of that. And I think, you've done such a good job with how you've weaved that together. And the next one coming up, I think really being then more focused on, on a certain kind of group. For me, I would say I'm also really excited about the next study and what's coming out of the Leadership Institute. And so really recognizing that, as everything is shifting, I mean, things are accelerating, the need for an understanding of who's at the very forefront. What are they doing? We need hope. We need, there's lots of negative stuff in the news, but there are people that are doing remarkable work, and learning about that gives you inspiration and real passion and to keep going, and ideas and all of that. And so I'm also really excited about that coming out of the Institute. So I think we've got a lot, but I guess the common theme here between all the work that we're doing is it's really focused on a brighter, better future, building that together, learning from the people who are doing it, sharing what's working, importantly, what's not working, because we don't have time to reinvent the wheel at this point, as with things moving so quickly. That kind of old adage of, move fast and break things, we can't just all be breaking things. So if we can learn from somebody else's breakage, we can get along faster, move along faster. And in really building something, I think our generation is, maybe the only or the first generation to have this kind of this weight on our shoulder, but also to your point, it's the last generation. Well, you say this is something that you've always said. Tell us about this generation.
Well, I mean, I think it's both of us, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's observing what is happening and together. And yeah, I mean, I would say, and I think everyone agrees here, no matter if you are frankly, no matter from which spectrum you're witnessing right now, what is happening and where you stand on so many stands. And I think there's a lot to say about a lot of complexity that is happening. But I think we can also all agree, no matter from which direction, this is a time of disruption, right? And it's being it through societal disruption, environmental, or through the AI evolution, right? AI itself will just disrupt everything that we know. And so, what this means is that probably now is the only time and the last time that we as humanity and as leaders will actually write the script or the incentive systems of the markets and of the economy that is coming next. This is way beyond the shift of the industrial age. I mean, what we're witnessing right now, we are now birthing something that is way more smarter than humanity. So the markers that will be created will be not anymore serving just us humans. It will serve also AI agents and one day maybe super intelligence, right? So we should better right now really lead in what we want to create. And this is a real leadership moment. And also creating then what we want to value. Do we want to value healthy systems, society, healthy air, healthy water, healthy children, right? And do we want to value space expansion and exploration, right? Where do we want to go into, creativity, culture, and art, something that really makes life joyful. And we truly believe that these economies are win-win-win economies. And now we are in a driving seat where we can actually create a win-win-win scenario. And so you can, well, I mean, I can go so far and deep on that, as Chris knows. For me, I think, but it's for all of us an exciting moment. And as Krista said, it's a real moment of responsibility with all the excitement, right? To meet that with resilience, to meet that with understanding the complexities at hand and really serving your local community and your organization within that shift, I think is significant. And so this is what I would answer to your question.
That's great. That's so good. Well, I think our time is up here.
Yeah.
So I guess with that, we'll say maybe a couple of last words each.
Yes.
Um, you go first.
Okay. So I think just very briefly also to share a little bit on some of the outcomes that have been created over the last couple of years, right? I think
Mm.
something that we have shared is the policy recommendations where we have over 27 countries working on that. So this is something that continuously is an output of our convenings and of our research, educational trainings, but then also partnerships that have formed of actors across the world that just really met based on value alignment in the businesses and we're able to grow really the billion-dollar businesses. I think something that's really important also for the CEOs that participate usually in our research are multinational CEOs, like the Mastercards of the world, but also regional local champions. And so what we're looking for, if we may to say like a call for action, is on the one hand, of course, nominate leaders that you believe are at the forefront for the CEO study. If you are in a place to support research as a donor and to support the advance for education and leadership skills for the Leadership Purpose Institute, it's a 501(c)(3) and accepts donations. Engage with us here, and we are incredibly excited to share more of outcomes, measurable outcomes that got created over time. Really believe it's very relevant work. And join our leadership circles and our events, join the community and the network. I think we need all of us and all of you, and the time is now.
Well said. Well, I don't think I can say anything addition to that other than to say, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for to the team that's supporting us, and we a huge invitation to anybody who's watching to join us because now is the time to create the future we want. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Davos Worldwide, for hosting us. Thank you, Anand and
Yeah.
team.